In my last video, I talked about the pet to threat dynamic, how talented people, especially women and people from marginalized groups, can go from being someone's favorite to being quietly pushed out the moment they start to shine a little too brightly. Today, I'm flipping the lens. Instead of talking about what it feels like to be that person, I'm talking to the leader. I'm talking to you. I'm Mariana, a first generation professional, leadership coach, and former talent development executive who supports 21st century leaders navigating complex career environments. So, someone on your team wants your job. Maybe they've said that out loud, or maybe you can just sense it in the kinds of questions they're asking, or maybe you just kind of see that they're always a little bit ahead of the curve on things. Whatever it is, here's what I want to ask you today. What are you doing with that? Because if someone on your team has their eyes on your seat, you have a choice. You can feel threatened, or you can become the kind of leader people end up writing inspirational Substack posts about like 10 years from now. So let's talk about how to do the second one. Here's the honest truth most leadership coaches won't tell you up front. When a direct report openly aspires to your role, the first instinct is rarely celebration. It's something closer to threat assessment. Are they trying to replace me? Do they think I'm doing a good job? Or do they think I'm incompetent? Should I be worried? That's human. That's normal. And when it's also left unchecked, it can become the pet to threat spiral we talked about last time. Now, what tends to happen next is subtle. We stop sponsoring that person in rooms they're not in, or we start framing their confidence to ourselves as arrogance, or they'll give them just enough feedback that keeps them good, but not too good. The cruel truth is, and the research is pretty consistent on this, ambition gets punished more harshly when it comes from people who don't traditionally look the part, such as women or first generation professionals. Their drive gets read as aggression, as overreach, as not knowing their place. Okay, so let's reframe this entirely. What if we instead consider that someone wanting your job is not a warning sign, but it's actually a signal that you've built something worth wanting? Consider that. People don't aspire to mediocre roles under mediocre leaders. If someone on your team sees what you're doing and thinks, I want that, that reflects well on you. And here's the real talk nobody's going to tell you early enough in your career. You cannot move up if there's no one behind you who can move in seamlessly and do your job. Full stop. So your ambitious direct report, they're not your competition. They're your exit strategy. The leaders who hoard knowledge, who keep people small and feel threatened by rising talent, stagnate. The leaders who make room for the next generation of leaders, they get noticed, they get opportunities, and they build reputations that outlast any single role, typically because they also end up beloved. So, what does it actually look like to normalize ambition on your team? I'm just going to give you the 4 moves that actually matter. Number 1, name it with them. Don't make your ambitious team member tiptoe around their goals or have to spell it out for you. Bring it into the conversation directly. Say something in your one-on-ones like, I know you're thinking about aspiring to a leadership role. Let's talk about what that path could look like for you. When you name it, you signal that it's safe, that their ambition is not a threat to your relationship. So the second move is to give them a view from your seat. This is one I feel really strongly about. Let them shadow you. Bring them into a meeting they're not technically required to attend. Let them see the unglamorous parts of your role. Okay, the hard conversations, the trade-offs, the politics. This does 2 things. It builds their readiness and it deepens their respect for what you actually do. Most people's ambition will either grow or get calibrated when they see the full picture up close, and either outcome is useful. The third thing you can do is to sponsor them, not just mentor them, and there is a big difference. Mentorship is advice. Sponsorship is action. It's saying their name in rooms they're not in. It's advocating for them to lead that high visibility project. It's attaching your credibility to their growth. And yes, this can feel risky. But sponsoring someone into success reflects incredibly well on you as a talent developer. And it's one of the most visible forms of leadership there is. So the fourth and final move is to make the conversation about the organization, not just them. Help your direct report see their ambition in a bigger context. Who are they developing to replace them? What problem do they want to solve at the next level? Ambition that's connected to purpose is sustainable. But ambition that's only about the title tends to be fragile because it tends to over rely on external validation. When you help them think this way, you're not just growing a leader, you are actively modeling what leadership really looks like. But before I wrap up, I do want to take a second and acknowledge something. Even with all of this that I've said, I want to note that it can still feel personal, especially if you're a leader who's had to fight for your own seat, if you've had to watch people less qualified get promoted over you, particularly if your own ambition was once treated like a problem. That history doesn't just go away because you're now in the chair. So, what I'm asking is that if you do notice yourself pulling away from someone who's rising fast, I want you to lean in and get curious about that, not guilty about it. I just want you to ask yourself, is this about them or is this about something unresolved in me? Because sometimes the people we're most threatened by are just mirrors. They remind us of who we were before we learned to play it safe. And that's worth sitting with. The best leaders I've ever seen or reported to or coached, the ones who have left the most lasting impressions on me, they didn't protect their seat. They multiplied it. They intentionally built cultures where ambition was out in the open, where people could say, I want to grow into your role one day, and instead be met with, okay, let's talk about what needs to be done to make that happen. That is the opposite of the pet to threat dynamic. So if this hit home for you, I invite you to go and watch the first video I did a few weeks back on the pet to threat dynamic. I'll link it below. And if you're a leader who's actively working through this stuff, drop a comment. I'd love to know what's coming up for you. Please like, subscribe, and share this with a leader in your life who's ready to do the work. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one.